Welcome to the Raising Values podcast, where the traditional family talks. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You can support the Raising Values podcast through Patreon. Phil and Gillian are behind the mic, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome back to Raising Values.
Hello, hello. It's actually nighttime. This is a previously recorded episode. We've been missing you guys lately. We kind of been living the life. So, and we'll be living the life again this weekend when we're supposed to record on Sunday.
Yeah.
So it's actually Friday the 13th.
It's actually like 7 o'clock in the evening on a Friday because this is like the only time this whole crazy weekend we're going to have to sit down for an hour.
We're literally checking off the list. I had so many people at work today say, "Oh, y'all going to have a fun weekend? What are y'all doing this weekend?" I was like, don't even get me started. I was like, it starts from the time I walk out of this door at work. That's when this is going to all start. So anyway, so this is previously recorded. And what's making this such an eventful weekend is because someone here, not naming names, has a birthday tomorrow, October 14th.
Yes, somebody's. Of course, this is going to be broadcast on Sunday, which will be the day after my birthday. But yes. Who's counting?
Which when I said October 14th and thought about the age you're returning, you are the 14th, and you're turning 41. So 14. Is it? It's 1441. So it's a
So if me turning
what it's called.
So if me turning 14 on the 14th was my golden birthday, what's the
That's what I'm
birthday?
saying.
Is that like a lead birthday or fool's gold? Fool's gold.
That's your fool's gold. That is the fool's gold birthday. Ew. Mine was on my second birthday, so we're good.
You got that one out of the way early.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was good. So just a couple of housekeeping kind of things. So we've beat prepper camp with, it's a dead horse now. Not really. We love prepper camp, but we've talked about it. And you can still listen to those episodes and watch them on Matter of Fact's page. So
they're actually here on YouTube in its own little playlist. If you look on our channel under playlist, there's one playlist that's all 2023 prepper camp. All the videos we recorded, and it's probably not too early to go ahead and front load the conversation. Like Gillian and I and Andrew have all committed to go next year.
Yes.
And Rick Austin has given us the green light. We'll be probably back down in the vendors area doing interviews and meeting guests. So it's a year away, and tickets aren't even going to go on sale for another month and some weeks, but it's definitely happening next year.
Yeah. I am not missing it ever again when Phil and Andrew go. So we'll be there. Women Who Prep Conference, I have to continue to tell you about this incredible conference that's coming up in April. I'll be a guest speaker talking about prepping with kids. So it's actually a show that we've done quite a few times on Matter of Facts, and I think we've done it one other time on Raising Values. So we'll touch on that a couple more times before April. Tickets are on sale now. You can follow them on Instagram. Their handle is Women Who Prep. And also This Prepared Life. Allison is the ringleader of all of us crazy women who prep.
The head cat herder.
Yeah, that is really what it's going to be like. I'm sure, at least for me, she's going to be like, all right, Gillian, it's time to get your content together. I'm going to get there. But tickets are on sale. It's all online. You don't even have to get out of your pajamas, which is amazing. So that's that. And I feel like there's other things, but maybe we'll get to them as we crawl along this episode today, because my brain is fried. It was very Friday the 13th for me. I had quite the day at school, and there's this little kid that, if you're friends with me on Facebook, I shared this video yesterday. We should have primed it up to play it, but he, little boy, he's probably 3 or 4 years old, and he comes home from school and he goes, I'm tired and I'm cranky and I've worked really hard at school today. And his dad says, all right, so you don't want to wrestle? And he goes, maybe, but I got to stop being tired, cranky and tired. I mean, he's country. But anyway, I saw myself in that little boy. I'm tired and I'm cranky and I've worked hard at school today. So,
and in your case, you needed nachos and chocolate to level yourself back out.
Yeah. So my hang up whenever we go camping is we always come home with the stuff to make s'mores, and I can't stop making s'mores. I told Phil, I said, I don't like things that are s'more flavored, but just like give me a s'more. So I've been eating s'mores every night since we got home. But anyway.
It's a thing.
So you're turning 41,
Yes.
and we're having a special little something tomorrow because we weren't able to celebrate your and girl.
Yes, because you're turning 40 in a couple of months.
Yeah, but tomorrow's about you, not me.
No, but the
This
episode...
is your anti.
But the episode is
golden
not
birthday.
just me. It's the idea of, like, getting older and what does that mean and what does that entail. And for a lot of people, like, I find this tends to be more a thing with women, at least in my experience, but like a lot of women regard getting older with some derision. And I don't know, like to me, getting older has never been a bad thing. It's kind of like I look back on who I was when I was 20, when you and I first met, or 21, and I think to myself, I'm like, God, thank God I survived that time of my life long enough to get smarter.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, 40's coming up. Made some definite life changes. I am excited about turning 40. I do have to say though, as it's slowly getting closer and closer, I'm getting a little freaked out that I'm 40. And you know, I've said this on the show before of I'm now literally middle aged.
Proving my point though.
Yeah, so I am kind of freaking out on one side, but then on the other, I'm like, I'm 40, and by God, I have fought tooth and nail, blood and sweat and tears to make it to 40. Literal blood and sweat and tears. I'm sure everyone has. But I have come a long, long way from when I was 20, 30 even, come a long way. So I am excited to turn 40 eventually. I've got to figure out how I want to celebrate turning 40, and we'll...
Yes, because
I don't
that's the
know.
only way I'm going to have any clue.
You're just
how
going to
you-
have to surprise me. You're going to have to get with my besties. And
because
No.
what's going to wind up happening is that whatever I surprise you with won't be right, and if your besties are involved in planning it without your direction, it's going to be their party, not yours.
nah, I don't know. We'll see.
She
I don't even
says
know what
that,
I
but
want, so...
I've been down this road a time or two in 18 years.
But having a birthday party for you is just as hard because you don't ever want anything. So Piper and I were trying to think of what to buy you for your birthday
told
on
you
the
what
way
I wanted.
home. Which was?
A kiss.
Oh God, no! See, this is what I deal with every
Okay,
time,
but
every
he-
damn time.
but-
Christmas, birthdays, anything. I just want to kiss. I just want to snuggle, and that's sweet and all, but that means you don't have anything under the Christmas tree.
Okay, but
I know a comment. If people were watching right now, comments would be flying right now. Just put yourself in a bow. Just put yourself in a bow.
what's the matter with that?
No, we'll have.
I
to
love
meet-
unwrapping the same thing every year.
Shut up. Anyway.
Anyway, but like I don't know, like part of the problem is like I personally have never been a super materialistic person. I think a lot of that comes from like spending a portion of my life basically living out of a suitcase or out of a duffel bag where I've constantly been in motion. Like I've had to carry whatever was important to me, you know, like in my head or in my heart because I couldn't take anything else with me. Like, I don't know. It's just... And some of that probably also goes back to like when I was really young, you know, growing up, we were a working class family. We didn't have a lot of money for extra stuff. We had everything we needed. We weren't poor. We didn't go without. But like everything we have is precious. So I kind of grew up with this idea that like stuff only has meaning to me if it has utility. Like even to this day, you browbeat me into what was one thing that you and Piper could get me. And I was like, well, get me a 5-pound propane tank. And you looked at the look on your face was like, how on God's green earth is that a gift? But to me, it's like, it's a gift because it's something, I'm going to buy myself.
Which
I'm going to take you and Piper camping and use that thing to make that camping experience that much more enjoyable. And because I'm a thrifty SOB, like going to get that refilled for $3 a pound at the local Tractor Supply absolutely beats going and buying like 5 1-pound cylinders at I don't know, friggin' $8, $9, $10 a whack at the local Walmart. So like, it's a cost savings thing to me. But it only means something to me because it has utility, and that's the way I am with most things. Unfortunately, I'm not very sentimental. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
yeah, but you say things like that, like go get me a 5-pound whatever of a tank of propane, and then your wife is like, absolutely not. That is not how we're going to celebrate your birthday or Christmas. And you end up with a custom-made Bowie knife, or you end up with, what did I give you one time? I can't. Every year I try to top myself.
But again, why do you think the knife meant so much to me, other than the fact that you got it literally custom built for me?
Because you were going to be able to use it.
Because I use it every time we go camping. I cut steak with that knife. I was using it to friggin' cut vines and everything out of our way when we were hiking the other day. Like that is my camp knife. That is my woods knife, and I use it constantly. Anytime I'm not bumming around suburbanite hell like where we live, but that's my knife. And oddly enough, it's kind of funny. Like there was a time I went to prepper camp and I left it in my pack. I didn't have it on my hip. Somebody called me out and asked me where it was.
Yeah, that's funny.
Because I don't know. I guess a guy with a beard halfway down his chest and a big Bowie knife on his hip kind of goes together.
Well, yeah. Now that you wear the Bowie knife, you certainly can't ever cut the beard. It would look a little weird.
It would look a little odd.
Yeah.
But in any case. So yes, I absolutely apologize for being a pain in the butt to shop for, but on the other hand, I mean, that's the man you married. I'm just
Hashtag sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. I happily admit to being a very sentimental, but whatever the opposite of materialistic is me. But that much of me hasn't changed. But I was trying to think of like how we pack this up into a couple of bullet points, and I was trying to think about like what has actually changed about you and me over the last 18 years. Not just 18 years together, but like... I was
going to say, like, as we've grown older?
Yes.
Individually?
Yes. Individually or together. Although I guess
start, because I don't know what you mean by perspective. Like, my perspectives have changed. Well, never mind. That's the next matter. Yeah, but my perspective has changed, but...
Well, I know that, like, as I've gotten older, I have begun to care much more deeply about many, many fewer things. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
whereas my attention used to be kind of like out in this many directions, I've learned to like really narrow down to like, these are the few core things that really mean something to me, and those things get 100% of my attention. Mm-hmm. And anything outside of those boundaries means nothing to me. I mean, it's not even like I'm not interested or that's not my thing. Like, no, it's not in my world. Like, so much of what I perceive other people to be super involved in, whether it's sports or culture or media or, the Oscars, or God only knows what other people are, staring at the boob tube watching these days. It just means nothing to me. It's not in my universe. The things that are in my universe are like my family, very, very close friends, couple of communities I'm involved in, the podcast, obviously. I mean, that's 7 years of my life. 7 years of my life I've spent working that. And now this podcast, and it's just, those things that are important to me are super, super, super important to me. Mm-hmm. I would say almost like they define who I am. But everything outside of there doesn't get any of my attention anymore.
Yeah, I would say the same thing about me. The older I get, the less I care about people's opinions or
Yes.
the less I care about what other people are doing or what's happening. Not that I don't care about what's happening in my friends and family's lives, because I do. I have learned to field out everything. Is it something that I really need to be concerned about? Like, is this person telling me this because they need to vent, or is this person telling me this because they really need to draw me into this? And it's not so much drama, it's just sometimes it's just things that happen in people's lives. But yeah, so my perspective has changed, as far as I just don't care a lot about a lot of things unless it affects me and my family. Mainly because I just don't have the time anymore. I've learned, y'all, I swear this podcast, we're going to have to change the name to something like Define Your Energy or Find Your Energy or something like that. And I'll say it again. I'm big on reading about your energy and everything that you bring into your life and the energy that you, release and things like that. And I've just been super focused on where my energy is going and where I'm getting it from. And it's important to me to make sure that my energy release is the same getting back. And so if it's not, then you're no longer in that bubble, or that thing is no longer in my bubble anymore. And it is so freeing. It has been so freeing the last few months to just be like, yeah, I don't know why I've spent 18 years worrying about this, because it's been the dumbest use of my energy I could have been putting to something else. It's like, y'all, I'm super tired, but so I'm going to be rambling, but it's like somebody asked me the other day, she said, and I know that she listens to the podcast now, so when you hear this, you're going to know who you are.
You won't be named yet.
She said something so kind to me and so just I was not ready for. She said, you're so smart, and I don't understand. I think, because she said, you tell your students all the time, when you grow up, I always tell my students, when I grow up, because they always look at me like, what, Miss Ravelay, when you grow up, you're already grown up. I always tell them, when I grow up, I'm going to be an astronaut. And that's no lie. I literally believe one day I'm going to make it to space. I do. And I think manifesting that and praying for that or doing that or whatever, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get to space. And even if it just means, I told Phil this, even if it just means that one day when I die and my energy goes back to the universe, I've made it to space. But I tell my kids that, when I grow up, I want to be an astronaut. Mr. Rabelais, you're already old. You're already grown up. They do. They call me old, and sometimes they call me fat.
You're not fat.
No, I've had 2 students tell me, well, that's why you're fat.
You want me to snatch the life out?
No, stop it. But then she said, I don't understand why you're here teaching. Like, I don't understand why you're here. And I had to think for a second, not because I had to think, well, yeah, why am I here? Why am I teaching? That's not why I had to stop and think. I had to think of a way to put it in, to put my emotions into words that was going to be understandable. Because if you've listened to this podcast long enough, you understand that Gillian sometimes has a hard time with thoughts coming into words. So I it's just this far. It's not far. But I have a hard time getting there sometimes. Always asking Phil, what's that word? What's that word?
Yes.
So I told her, I was like, because this is where I am right now. This is where I needed to be. I used to spend so much of my time once I got out of college, I used to spend so much of my time thinking, where's my next stop? What am I going to do next? Where's my next career move? What am I going to do? And so I was with Audubon for almost 10 years. And I actually left Audubon while I was still in college and then went back 3 months later. And that's a whole different story. But I've always been like that. Where am I going to go next? How am I going to make it bigger? How am I going to make more money? How am I going to, get to those goals that I've set? How am I going to achieve those goals? And then something in my brain clicked about a year and a half ago. Well, yeah, about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years, where I said, I don't want to be that person. I don't need to be a big name in the community. I don't need to be this, gung-ho leader that I was striving to be. And in the meantime, doing all those things to reach those goals, I realized I'm leaving my family in the dust. Like, they're back there, they're hanging on, they're waiting for mom to come home, they're waiting for mom to do this, mom to get off the phone, mom to stop sending emails or checking her emails. They're waiting for me. And I told her, I said, this move meant I got to spend time with my kid, and I'm home when my husband gets off work, and I'm home during the summers, I'm home on breaks, I'm home on, leaves and all that stuff. So that's just where I am. And the weird thing, these last 2 years, that thought of, okay, what's my next move? What's my next jump? Hasn't even crossed my mind, because like I told her, this is just where I'm at right now, and I needed to be here because Piper needed to be here. And I do believe that one of my focuses this year is her. She's young. She is me when I was young. Mm-hmm. She doesn't think this, but I think she's brilliant. I think what she does is, I just can't even, I wouldn't be able to teach and do the things that she does. I just think that she's an amazing person, but she's young and she's in an environment that's new and never been there before. And I have this incredible opportunity to mentor her, and I'm taking that because I have just, this is going to sound weird, I've fallen in love with this girl, this young woman who I feel like she just needs that help so much. She's kind of just been left out to, dry to figure it out on her own. And I just want to do that. So that's my perspective of where I am now. Like, I'm here because I'm here, and I stopped living for the future and I'm living for right now, today. And that's just it. That's what 40 has brought me.
So, you turn perspective basically straight into priorities.
Yeah, I do that.
I think, from my perspective, though, before, and part of this is because, part of this is tied up in you and me together. Because, it's hard for me to separate 20 years later how much of my shifting priorities is due to meeting you, wanting to have a family, and how much of it's just me having grown up 20 years.
Yeah.
I'm when I was young, my my focus was automotive engineering. I was putting myself on a pathway education-wise and building the contacts to literally move out of the country, go to Italy or Germany, go work for Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche. I wanted to design and build supercars. It was a goal I'd set for myself, and I was pushing very, very hard in my engineering education to get there. And I'd already kind of dabbled in a little bit of amateur racing. I don't know if I ever told you actually, but when I was at University of New Orleans in the engineering program, I was part of I don't remember if they called it it wasn't a class. It was an extracurricular activity where they were building Baja racers to go and compete with other colleges. Yeah, I was involved with it that semester, and they didn't really want to hear a lot of the things I was proposing, even though they had shattered their suspension uprights and very obviously needed some assistance from a person that had an automotive background, but whatever. But that was the path I put myself on. And then once I met you and we fell in together and we decided we wanted to start a family, I was like, okay, I'm not raising children in a foreign country. For all of my gripes about the country of my birth, and I do have many, there is nowhere else on earth I would want to raise a family. There's nowhere else on earth I'd want to raise my child. I want her to be an American citizen. So I completely upended all my plans. I changed my career goals. When I got laid off from the aviation industry, I changed careers again because I prioritized more time at home and a more regular schedule and less travel. But my priorities have shifted 180 degrees over the last 20 years. And some of that, I'm sure, is because, became a family man. But I also think a lot of it is just the fact that, like, going back to that same thing I was saying about how things only have meaning to me when they're useful. My career has no innate intrinsic worth to me, if that, as weird as that sounds. Like,
It doesn't sound weird to me. It probably sounds weird to somebody else, but
my career is a means to an end. It provides me the income and the benefits I need to provide most of the lifestyle I want to my family. And if I could make better money with, like, fewer working days or whatever, like, if that calculus was better somewhere else, I'd go work somewhere else. Like, I used to joke with a lot of my coworkers that I'm a financial mercenary. In other words, like, whoever puts the most dollars in my bank account for the least number of hours work, bam, I'm jumping, I'm going there. And obviously, like, I've become a little bit more resistant to that as time has gone on, because I'm paying into a retirement annuity. I'm kind of vested in the place I work to a degree now. Like, I'd like to finish my career there if possible, but it is a means to an end. It is a stepping stone to retirement. It's a stepping stone to get her set up in her life. It's a stepping stone to take care of us, and it means nothing to me on the face of it. Whereas there was a time when my career was central to my life. I was shaping everything about what I was doing around the career I wanted, and now the career means nothing for the sake of the career. It is truly what it provides to me and nothing more.
That's something you and I have always talked about. And I remember when we were first married, it was like, I didn't understand it. I was just, how could you spend more time of your waking hours at your job, which is really sad when you think about it.
Yeah.
To me, you have to like where you're going. You have to like who you work with. You have to like what you're doing. And I couldn't wrap my head around it. And I guess now, being a little bit older, I get it, but I'm still not that way. I don't think I ever will be. I think I'm too much of an emotional person, an emotional being to do that. I have to feel like I have to like my job. I have to like where I work and the people I work with. So.
And it certainly is easier if you like the people you work with or if you like your job. Like, I try to find moments in my job I enjoy. Like today, I've told you that we're working on these two big projects. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of stress. But I find moments, like this morning, I finally got the data set that I told you yesterday I've been pushing and screaming and yelling about. Hey, I need this data set. I need it as fast as possible. I got it. Mm-hmm. Got it this morning within 45 minutes. I had it finessed into the report I'd already started building. I started drafting all the links and everything between the data sets, marrying all of it together. Super nerdy spreadsheet nerd stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm a spreadsheet nerd, though. I mean, I happily admit I'm a data analyst. It's my bread and butter. It's what I'm good at. I enjoy it, and I enjoy those moments where I get to do stuff like this because, like, as nerdy as it sounds, I enjoy the challenge of figuring out something new in a realm that is already my realm. And in the process of this little piece of this project, I've had to kind of like teach myself new ways of doing things because the ways I'd already figured out just weren't working effectively because of the format of the data input. So it was really fun. It was really interesting. There are parts of my job I hate, and I get through those however I have to.
There's always going to be a part of your job that you really wish would not be a part of your job.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no happy place. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no job that is just pure joy, except being an astronaut.
But I guess the point is, I would not.
You didn't catch that.
Your Neff lizard is going to use the bathroom, I think.
Why are we?
Sorry, he just out of the corner of my eye. I noticed him moving around. He's been hiding out the whole day, and suddenly he's out and moving around.
We'll have to introduce y'all to our little our new little lizard that we got, our leopard gecko. His name is Oscar.
Oscar Mayer.
Oscar Mayer. Anyway,
so like I guess.
Can y'all tell we're tired?
Yes. Priority wise, like I wouldn't leave the job I have now for a job that I loved for less compensation. put it that way. Like, how much I like my job is a secondary priority to, does it support my family?
I get that.
Is the work-life balance there? Like, those things all matter much, much more to me. And it's actually been kind of befuddling for some of my coworkers. Like, I told you that a couple years ago, my boss's boss's boss commented to me, like, you know, how impressed she was with me, and she wanted to kind of like try to fast track me up the ladder. And I explained to her, I'm like, I'm flattered, but I'm not interested. And she was shocked. And I told her, I'm like,
I was too.
well, but here's my thing. I told her point blank, I'm like, I know enough of the hours you and my boss's boss, your direct subordinate, I know enough of the hours that y'all keep. And y'all were here at 6 o'clock in the morning when I got here, and y'all were on the phone until 8 p.m. last night. And y'all live an hour away, so figure that commuting time in. I'm like, my daughter is at an age where she needs her father. And she doesn't need her father on the damn cell phone all the time because work called, something blew up at work, something happened. My kid needs me more than they need a 6-figure paycheck. So I was very upfront with them and said, later on in my career, when my family is a little bit more established and like I can give the additional time to this organization, I would be more open to moving into a management position. But right now, today, it is going. I already know it is going to take more from me than I'm willing to give, because it's not like that more I have to give comes from me. It comes from y'all. So I guess my priority is, if I have to take more time away from y'all to give to them, what's the point of making that move right now? I just don't feel like I didn't feel like that was in our best interest, especially like 2 years ago when the conversation came up. And one day, you know, the calculus will be just right, and I'll say, you know what, my she's running around with her friends all over town. She's not, you know, wanting to cuddle up with dad on the couch in the evenings. Now's the time when I can take that extra time away from my family and do this, and it'll provide us more to do more with. But I will not put my career ahead of my family, which is a mistake I see a lot of men fall into.
Yeah.
And I would like to think most men, the thought process is, well, I'm doing this for my family. But I always tell people, I'm like, my problem is, if the only thing you ever do is sleep in the house and send a paycheck home, are you really being husband and dad? You know,
That's what my dad. He doesn't apologize all the time, but he has quite a lot more recently.
As he's gotten older. He just turned 71, and he apologized to me a few months ago for. He said, I wish I hadn't have worked so much. I wish I hadn't. And he had a great paying job. He was, I can't remember, he was the environmental engineer for a bunch of refineries,
yeah,
mostly.
thank you. Refineries in North Louisiana. I mean, he wrote not laws, but he did a lot with the Louisiana legislation and things like that.
Department of Environmental Quality, too.
Yeah, DEQ, things like that. And so he was really well known in the state. And whenever there was a big explosion or whatever, my dad was there, and he was there. But now at 71, he's very quick to tell his girls, I wish I hadn't worked so much. I missed out on everything. And his priorities, his perspective has changed. And I know that he did those things to give us the best life that we could have. That meant that he was out of the house all the time, and he didn't work close. He worked an hour, sometimes an hour and a half away, and he was gone on, business trips all the time. He was in Baton Rouge a lot. He was always, he was gone a lot.
Yeah.
So it's interesting is not the word that I want to use, but it always makes me think of the song. I'm not going to remember the name of it, but it's about the son who asks his dad, like, when you coming home, son, I don't know when, but we'll get together then. And how as the son grows up, when you coming home, Dad,
Cat's in the cradle.
yeah. When you coming home, Dad, I don't know when, but we'll get together then. And it's, you switch places, and it does really bother me. And I know they don't do this. My parents don't do this out of spite or, to try to make me feel bad. But I called them yesterday and talked to them both for a really long time. And unfortunately, it had been a week had passed before I had talked to them again. And I apologized to them. I said, I'm sorry I don't call so much. And now I'm going to start crying. I'm sorry I don't call so much. And they both said, oh, we know you're working. We know you're busy. We know you're working. And I was like thinking to myself, I don't want that to be the excuse. I don't want work to be the excuse that my parents use that I don't talk to them. I just feel like that kid that grew up in that song of, I keep saying, well, we're going to make it out there. We're going to make it out there. And so I've got to make certain people in my family and certain friends a priority, when I can, and put that piece back together.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Well, and I mean, speaking of like your father working a lot, my father also.
Yeah,
I mean,
your dad worked
he
a
worked in
lot.
New Orleans. He was on call. I'm sure I've told you that story about like Father's Day. He had to go work because there was a windstorm down in the New Orleans area, knocked a bunch of trees down. So on Father's Day of all days, he was down in the city working, and he came home in the afternoon. He called my mom and said, let us know he was on the way. And I had the grill fired up. I barely knew how to work a charcoal pit, but I figured it out. Got a lick, got everything ready. I think we were just doing like burgers and hot dogs, nothing major. But I was determined we're going to salvage Father's Day. He came in. He was in the house less than 5 minutes. Phone went off. He kissed my mom, got back in the truck, and went back to work. We didn't see him again until the next morning.
Yeah.
And that was not the first time it happened. And it's one of the situations where it's like I hardly begrudge my father for the career he had and being on call.
Right. I'm the same way with my dad.
But here's the trick. I would embrace a work schedule like that more readily if you didn't also work.
Yeah.
Which is nothing against you.
No.
You and I made these decisions that you decided you wanted to work a long time ago, and I always said, I will support that, we'll make it work, we'll figure it out. But one of my things I've always kind of made a point of, because you decided you wanted to go back to work after Piper was born, was that I'm going to make sure I'm home more. Because there was no way I was going to accept 12-hour work days, 6 days a week, and be on call. And, like the career I had before Piper was born, where I was living out of a suitcase 6 months out of the year. There was no way on earth that was going to happen if you were also working. Because now that means not only does she not have dad, because dad's not here half the time, now she doesn't have mom because mom's working too. So my point of view was like, okay, if my wife is going to work and I'm going to work, then because you're helping shoulder some of the financial load in the family, I can kind of not chase the paycheck quite as hard so that I can make sure I'm home more. And we split the house duties. We really divide everything pretty much 50-50, I think.
You do? Yes. Let's go with that.
I mean, except for the laundry I'm going to be doing here in a minute. That's definitely
It's okay. I have other chores to do tonight too.
Yeah. But the point is, like, my priorities have always been based around... So in the last 20 years, my priorities have radically reorganized themselves. I'm laser focused on my family in a way that, like, before you and I met when I was like 20 and 21, I didn't want to have a family. I did not want to get married. I did not want kids. I didn't even want dogs. I
wanted a big family, but
no, I was 100% laser focused on my career is the most important thing to me. My hobbies right underneath that. And it wasn't, I would like to think it wasn't like a self-centered, like, to heck with the rest of the world, I'm the most important thing here. But it was just more of a, like, I had set goals for myself, and I was going to achieve them no matter how much kicking and screaming and yelling it took. And then I reached a point in my life where those goals just didn't matter anymore. And these new goals took over, and my entire life has just molded itself around those goals. Like, the thing that your coworker told you, like you could do anything, you're so smart, you're so this, that, or the other. My ultimate priorities right now are husband, father, and nothing else. Not this podcast, not matter of facts, not my career. None of the rest of it matters even remotely close to those two things.
I agree.
So I enjoy doing the podcast. I enjoy a lot of things. But if ever something came in conflict with being your husband or being her father, I'd pitch them to the side immediately. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, my priorities have shifted radically, and they've also they've taken the number 1 and 2 spot and shoved everything down to the bottom of the list.
Well, and that's why I took this job teaching. I mean, yes, I wanted a little slower of a paced career, and I know some teachers are going like, really, are you crazy? It's not a slower pace. And after today, ladies, totally agree with you.
But compared to what you had before.
But compared to what I had before, it is much slower paced, and there is less stress. But I don't ever want to get to 70 years old and have to tell Piper, I wish I would have taken more time. I wish I would have not worked so much. And for 4 years, I did that. Actually, longer than that, because when I worked in New Orleans, I was gone even more than what I was. Like, I was physically out of the house more than what I was when I was at the museum. But I was gone, I think, probably the same amount of time if you count me being on emails and phone calls and social medias and all that stuff. But, you know, I don't want to feel the guilt that my dad feels now of, I shouldn't have worked so much. I should have been there for you girls. I should have done more. I should have whatever. And I've said this so many times, I think. I know I have on this podcast before. Some of my best memories growing up are Saturday mornings when I was in the garden with my dad. And because those were the only times, really, it was Saturdays and Sundays when he was home, that I actually got one-on-one time with him. You know, my sisters did their other thing. I loved being in the garden or the greenhouse with my dad, and those are some of the best memories I have with my father. And those were some of the best conversations I've had with my father. And we still, to this day, will bond over biology and, you know, horticulture and herbology or whatever. I don't even know if that's really a word. I think it is. Yeah, an herbologist.
We'll go with it.
Yeah, we'll do that. But, you know, that's still stuff that I can bond and talk about with my dad. I just don't want to be 71 years old or 70 years old wishing I could go back 30 years and spend that time with my kids. And so right now, you know, could I eventually be an astronaut one day? Maybe. I don't know. Sure, it's a dream. And I say that some, you know, tongue in cheek to my kids at school. But right now, I get to spend the 15 to 20 minutes it takes to get to school in the morning with my kid. I get to teach her twice a week in my class. I get to spend snack time with her. I can eat lunch with her. And then I get the 15 to 20 minutes with her on the way home. And you can't beat it. I mean, we're together all the time now. And so at least for this stage in her life, when I turn 70, I won't feel like I need to say I should have been with you more, because I took the lesser paying job to be with her. And I have no regrets, absolutely no regrets. And well, some days, but not because I took the lesser paying job. But yeah, I'm happy with where my priorities have shifted to. I'm happy with that. So the passage of time, slower and faster at the same time.
I don't know if this is something you felt too, but like,
yes, it just gets faster and faster.
Well,
I don't feel like it gets slower.
Faster and slower at the same time, at least for me. Like, the weird part of this is that I can remember being 20 or 21, 22 when you and I met, and like it seemed like everything took so long. Everything went so slowly. Like, Jesus Christ, 3 more semesters to graduate college, and another year before we can move in together and get married, and everything just seemed like it was taking so long to get where we were trying to get. And now, on the cusp of turning 41 years old with an 11-year-old child sitting there in a house that we've owned since
12 years.
Has been 12 years?
November will be 12 years.
Oof. In a house that we've owned for 12 years, it seems like somewhere along the way things sped up a lot. Like I can remember her being 5 years old. Like it's yesterday. I can remember every now and then I'm going through my phone and I see the pictures of her when she's about a year old sitting on my back riding me like a horse.
Yeah.
Having the greatest time, by the way. God only knows what she was saying. I remember the time.
Get the mosquito truck.
Yeah. I remember when she realized she could put the little plastic clip-on earrings on my ears, and she said, "Oh, you're so pretty."
Yeah.
But like that doesn't seem that long ago to me. And yet I have these weird moments where I'm like you said the other day, like, in another like year and a half she's going to be in high school, and I'm like, what? When did that happen?
I know that I still can't wrap my head around that. And that's something that's a priority that has snuck itself in because time has gone by so fast. And, this is kind of off subject, but not. We were at the lunch table today, me and a bunch of my coworkers. And now we're all different ages. So, some of them are in their 20s, some are in their 30s. I'm almost in my 40s, and then my bestest friend at work is in her 50s. And we're all in different stages of our life. And we were talking about music. And I said, yeah, I still think the 70s was 20 years ago. And it wasn't. There was something that popped up on my feed on Facebook the other day that said if you went to one of these concerts, it's time to get a mammogram. It was New Kids on the Block.
Oh, God.
And I was like, that was my first concert. It was New Kids on the Block. And I guess I need to schedule a mammogram now. Like,
I saw a meme on Facebook, and it was like album covers for like Green Day, Offspring, Metallica, and I forget what the other one was, but it was bands that I listened to. Mm-hmm. And it said if you listen to these bands when they first came out, it wasn't 10 years ago. And I thought to myself, and I had this moment where I'm like,
surely it was. It was the 90s.
Surely it was. It was the 90s. I saw another version of that meme that said you die a little inside when these bands show up in oldies stations.
Oh, yeah. We talked
or classic rock stations.
Yeah, we talked about that, too, and how, who was it? Matchbox 20 is now played on on the oldies station. And it's like,
babe, I feel like we're old.
That was high school. That was
high school
concert I was going to on 9/11 when all that went down. That was the concert we were going to, was Matchbox 20. So yeah, in a way, time, I guess, does slow down, but then it certainly does get faster. I mean, we just finished our first quarter at school. It's over today.
Just that fast.
And that's it. And I keep telling like all these new teachers and whatever, my friend that I was talking about earlier, it's like once we get to Thanksgiving break, it is going to go by. It's going to be May before we know it. We're going to be at 7th grade graduation. We're going to be talking about, putting in our last grades for the report cards. We're going to be talking about buttoning up the classroom and be gone for 2 months for summer. It's like, it's going to go by so quick. Well, I keep saying that, and it's only 5 weeks away. I mean, like, the first quarter's over. Like, what? When did that happen? And you know how when you go on a trip, it always seems to take longer to get there, but when you're on your way back, it takes shorter, and it's really no difference in time because there's no difference in the amount of mileage or whatever you went on. I feel like that was me last year. Like, it was just like good God, we won't ever get to Thanksgiving break. And a lot of that was because I worked through the summer at my previous job, and I had a weekend in between finishing that job. No, a week. I had 1 week between finishing that job and then getting into my classroom. I think it was more like 4 or 5 days. But anyway, getting into my classroom and getting it started. And then the kids were there, and it was just like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this before. So very overwhelming. And so November could not get here fast enough. And now I'm just like, whoa, wait. We're at Halloween? I have to find a Halloween costume in 2 weeks? Like, no. We should still be swimming in PE. It's not happening, So yeah, I agree. It does go faster and slower at the same time, and I'm not prepared how to deal with that. I think it's only going to get faster and faster for as you get older and older. It's just going to get faster and faster, and I think our older listeners, our more seasoned listeners, can probably attest to that. I know that my parents didn't think that they were going to be 70 this quick. When I talked to my parents the other day, I asked them how things were going, and how's the house, how are they feeling, blah blah blah. And my mom just kept saying, we're just getting older, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, I know, I get it. You're turning 70 in next August, and Daddy just turned 71, and but what I think she was doing is what I'm doing now. She's trying to convince herself, like, we're getting older, like we're 70 years old. And I'm going, we just finished the first quarter, and in 5 weeks it's Thanksgiving.
Well, every time somebody gets a picture of me from behind and I see this immaculate bald spot on the top, like it is very evident that I'm getting older.
Yeah,
like there is, well, I mean, I don't even know why.
You are 41.
Well, but here's like the funny thing, that I'm not like, what's the word?
You need me to add? Okay, I'm ready.
It's when you're like super concerned about your appearance. Vanity?
Vanity.
Okay. I'm not a very vain person. I'm not a
Yeah.
vain person. I don't think so.
No, I don't think you are
Okay.
at all.
But like, I'm
the one who has to buy you new shirts because they have holes or armpit stains.
Okay, thanks, babe.
Oh, well, I didn't mean it like that. You're a man. That happens.
But like the other day, I was looking in the mirror while I was, like going through my nighttime routine, brush my teeth and everything, and I just looked at my face and I'm like, oh my God, when did you start getting old? Like the lines in my forehead, the lines at the corners of my eyes, the lines in my, in my cheeks, this old scar on my cheek. I swear to God, it's getting more pronounced as I get older.
I have some things that'll help that.
Well, it's not like it bothers me. I think it kind of jumped out at me like, okay, Phil, you are starting to look like an older man, and it's weird because I know you and I go.
Like it.
I'm glad you do. It's not going back the other direction, but like I know
You can do that, bottle that up, because we will be rich. These ladies in Mandeville, man.
I ain't got the secret to that. I just tell everybody accept what you got because it's all you're gonna get. But like I guess from my perspective, like I've never been a vain person, but I guess I don't see myself as like an older as I don't see myself in terms of my age, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like
I still think of myself in my 20s
Yeah.
sometimes.
I feel old when my shoulder's acting up, or when my hip is acting up, or when one of my knees is sore, or, God forbid if I sneeze while bending over or blow my back out again. That happens. That hasn't happened in a good long while, and I don't want to speak that into existence. But like, when something hurts, usually a joint, because I was a jerk to my body when I was younger, that's when I feel like, oh, I'm starting to feel my age now. But like on an average day, I get up, I do everything I want to do. Nothing stops me. Nothing slows me down. I'll go out there and mow the lawn at 40 years old, and I don't come back in winded. I mean, I'm still doing all the maintenance on our friggin' vehicles. I ripped the whole suspension off that truck and rebuilt it a year ago. And I'm probably going to be doing the same thing with your Jeep in the not too distant future. I guess from my perspective, it's odd because, like, I don't feel like I think what I expected an old man to feel like most of the time. But then every now and then, I'll look at myself in the mirror And the face looking back at me it looks like an old man's face. And it shocks me. It's like, oh wow, that's really how I look. Like the picture on my phone of that 21-year-old guy in the airport wearing the uniform.
The one that hooked me?
Yes, he is long gone. The one with the smooth face and still had all of his hair, and he's gone. And this is what's left.
He's not.
Nah.
I like what's left.
Anyway, it's just like
I would say you're aging gracefully.
Well, I guess that's better than the alternative.
Disgracefully?
Well, aging like milk.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ugh. No, you're not doing that.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, as I turn 41 in the next handful of hours, I don't know. Like, I don't approach getting older.
Dear child.
I don't approach getting
Love you.
older with any trepidation. I don't bemoan it like, oh God, I'm over the hill. I'm not going to go buy a freaking Corvette or get hair plugs. I just don't care.
Well, we can't afford that anyway.
Well, it wouldn't matter if I could afford it or not. I could think of a lot better ways to spend the money. But I guess, from my perspective, it's just like, I think you or somebody else might have asked me when I turned 40, like, what's being 40 like? And I'm like, exactly like 39 was, with more hip pain.
No, don't say that, because I'm looking forward to it.
Well,
I don't know. Maybe it'll be different for me.
It very well might be different for you, but
I doubt it.
I guess I guess that's just my perspective on this whole getting older, is that the subtitle in our name says little older, maybe wiser, and I feel like we've definitely.
I do feel wiser.
I do feel like we've gotten a lot wiser over the years, and the reason I feel that way is because I am traditionally very shy about giving people advice. I am extremely averse to giving unsolicited advice. Like,
I agree with the unsolicited advice part. I do feel like, we both have podcasts, so we give advice weekly. And so I do feel confident in giving advice to people. I think everyone has their own stories and background, and especially us. And it's not just in marriage and relationships and raising kids and all that stuff. I think we all have advice that we can give to people. I think you have to be confident in that. I think for 7 years you've been very confident in giving advice to people.
I guess I just don't see it as giving advice to people, but you're probably right. Anyway.
That was recorded.
You've admitted that I was right on this show, too. It's equal opportunity.
Okay.
Anyway. No, like, I guess what I was going to say was, like, it's not that you're right. I do give advice, but I don't think there are very many times I ever take a very hardline stance with any advice I give. It's usually offered as this is what I would do, or these are your options. I always want to leave the ultimate decision up to the person who's going to suffer the consequences of it.
Right.
Because if I demand you do something my way and it blows up in your face and I'm not there to eat the poop sandwich with you, it doesn't feel right to me. Like, I feel like if I suffer the consequences, I make the decision. If they're your consequences, it's your decision. But I have found myself over the years being called upon to give advice.
I have too. Isn't that weird?
But what I'm saying is, like, that was the moment where I started to kind of feel like, okay, we've reached a level in adulthood where, like, other people,
Look to us.
well, other people are actively seeking us out. Because of our age, our experience, because of the things we've lived through, and their perspective has gone. Like, you wouldn't ask a person you perceive to have less experience, than you for their opinion or advice most of the time, because why would you? You value your opinion more because it's probably better informed. And when I see other people come to me, mostly younger, but they come to me and they say, "What's your opinion on this?" That was the moment in which I started to feel like, okay, we've reached a level in adulthood where, like, people perceive me because of my age or my experience or my whatever to have some wisdom to pass along to them. It's been a very, I don't know, it's been humbling, but
Yeah.
it's been a very odd experience for me because like I can talk the ears off a brass monkey. It's a gift. But most of the time, people don't want me to talk their ears off. So when somebody actually asks me to talk to them about stuff, it's like, really?
And I'm sitting there going, don't do it. Don't do it. We'll never leave. Don't do it. Not really.
No.
Sometimes.
And it's also been the subjects, though. It's been a lot of like it's been a lot of relationship advice. It's been a lot of life advice. It's been a lot of like, how do I navigate this weird part of my life that I'm in? Because you've already gone through it.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of times I'm very careful about taking the point of view of if you were my age, you would understand, because that almost makes it sound pejorative, like, well, you're being a child and that's why you're having trouble with this. And to me, it's like, no, I was there too. Age-wise, emotions-wise, priority-wise, I was right there once before. And when I was there, this didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
I had to get here to
To
understand
look
that.
back at it and yeah.
Yeah,
I get that, for
and
sure.
and that tends to be a lot of what I try to offer to other people when they ask for it. Is just, I understand it's confusing. I understand it's frustrating. I understand it doesn't make any sense yet. But let me talk you through what I've learned over the last 20 years and why you look at me today and I am who I am. Because who I am is focused on, you know, very few things, very, very deeply and intently. And I'm not willing to allow anything else to conflict with those priorities. Mm-hmm. But you got to go through 20 years of maturing to get here.
Yep. Well, good show. Good show, old man.
So do I get that kiss for my birthday?
You'll get a kiss. Tomorrow's your birthday. It's not today.
I'm just worried it's not going to be it's going to be a.
Nah. Let's see. So this will air on Sunday, so it'll be after Phil's birthday, but that's okay. He's still accepting gifts. No, I'm joking. Tell him happy birthday on his Fool's Gold birthday. I like that.
That's
We've
going to
just-
stick, isn't it?
We've just made something else on this podcast. His Fool's Gold birthday is tomorrow, the 13th. So happy birthday, old man. You're not old. Nah, you're not old.
I've always been an old man.
I do remember the other thing that we were supposed to talk about.
What were we supposed to talk about?
Patrons and becoming a patron, and visit us on Patreon and become a patron of the Raising Values podcast
But this does mean...
and or Matter of Facts.
So currently, all the patrons have kind of are holdovers from the Matter of Fact. Before we did Raising Values, when it was just Matter of Facts.
Yeah.
If we get patrons, now you are obligated to start doing members-only content.
Am I?
Well, yeah, that's one of the perks.
Become a patron of Matter of Facts. No, I love Raising Values podcast. Sometimes I do have difficulty figuring out what are we going to talk about.
Like this time.
Yeah, this one. And I'm not going to lie to you. It was nice to take those 2 weeks off to, kind of veg out and not have to worry about the whole podcast life. But it's something I've committed to. I think we've reached some people and done a good job with our content and stuff like that. But anyway, you can find us on Patreon, Raising Values or Matter of Facts. There's a lot of perks that go with being a patron. You can start your patron membership at just $1 a month.
The link's down in the description.
Yeah, so check it out if you really like us. They like us. They really like us. You unfortunately will also be put into a group of patrons where we chat a lot.
Yeah.
I checked the patron group today and there were over 400 messages back and forth. And y'all, we are like a family. I love these people so much. I love our patrons so much. And I look forward to our camping trip, our annual camping trip, to the point where most of our patrons, not most, but a lot of our patrons were at prepper camp this year. And that is what I was the most sad about. I was so sad that I wasn't going to get to see our family this year in September. But next year, September, we will see our family, and we will see our family on the Matter of Facts camping trip too. So anyway, a lot of good stuff. Anyway, so we appreciate you watching or listening. We are celebrating our family today. We are celebrating Phil's birthday and Phil's brother and his wife, who have a new fun little baby coming. So we're going to go celebrate them. Anyway, that's what we're doing today. That's why this is previously recorded. So enjoy your family. Enjoy the time you have with them. And even though it goes fast, you can make it slow down.
Yeah.
Philosophical moment for Gillian. It's because I'm so tired.
Best thing I tell you about growing up, guys, is that it's going to get the best of us one way or the other. There's no slowing it down. There's no going back. Best I can tell you is to learn to enjoy it, because we only get as much time as we get on this earth, and I tend to think that at a certain point, the thing that we leave behind is more, that is our life's work. My life's work is her.
I agree. Mine too. She's not listening to us, but
I don't blame
anyway,
her.
this old lady is going to go take her shower and go to bed because I'm so tired. I know I have to feed Oscar Mayer. I'm going to go feed Oscar Mayer and then take a shower and go to bed because I'm tired and old. All right, y'all. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye, everybody.